May 11th, 1945, 4:47 in the morning, Dingalan Bay, Philippines. John McKinney is asleep in a tent. His rifle lies beside him. 10 feet away, a Browning machine gun points into the jungle darkness. The only thing standing between 100 Japanese soldiers and 500 wounded Americans who can't fight back. McKinney doesn't know any of this. He's been on watch for hours. Now he's resting, eyes closed, breathing slow. A Japanese sergeant named Fukutaro Mori lifts the tent flap. He doesn't use the entrance. He cuts through the canvas, silent, the way you kill a man in his sleep. Mori raises his saber. The blade is designed for exactly this. One stroke, no sound, no warning. The steel comes down. It catches McKinney across the side of the head. The edge bites through cartilage and skin. His ear splits open. Blood sprays across the bedroll. McKinney's eyes snap open. There's a man standing over him, a sword in his hand, the taste of copper flooding his mouth. He's not dead. He should be dead. But the angle was wrong, or Mori rushed the stroke, or McKinney moved at the last second. It doesn't matter. The blade that was supposed to kill him only maimed him. McKinney has maybe 2 seconds before the next stroke comes down. Outside that tent, the jungle is erupting, gunfire, screaming. 100 Japanese soldiers pouring through the American perimeter. They've been planning this for days, watching, counting, waiting. Their target is the machine gun. Capture it, turn it around, use it to slaughter the Americans from behind. 6 miles down the road, there's a field hospital, 500 American soldiers lying in cots, men with amputated legs, men with bullets still lodged in their spines, men who survived the war but can't lift a rifle. If the perimeter falls, they're dead, every single one of them. John McKinney doesn't know any of this yet. All he knows is there's blood pouring down his face and a Japanese sergeant trying to kill him. What happens in the next 36 minutes will be studied at Fort Benning for decades. 40 Japanese soldiers will die. Not from artillery, not from air support, not from a platoon of infantry. From one man, the man with his ear hanging off his head. This is the story of how a possum hunter from Georgia became the deadliest single combatant of the Pacific War. John Randolph McKinney was born February 26, 1921, in Woodcliff, Georgia, Screven County, deep rural South, a place most Americans have never heard of and never will. His father was a sharecropper. That meant the McKinneys worked someone else's land, planted someone else's crops, and kept a fraction of what they grew. Bottom of the economic ladder in Depression-era Georgia. Below that, there was nothing but starvation. McKinney finished the 3rd grade. That was the end of his formal education. Not because he was slow, not because he didn't want to learn, because he was poor. Boys in Screven County didn't sit in classrooms reading books. They worked fields until their hands bled. That was the deal. That was survival. But McKinney had a problem. He was small, thin, weak by farming standards. He couldn't wrestle a plow through Georgia clay, couldn't haul 100-pound cotton bales, couldn't do the backbreaking labor that kept a sharecropping family alive. His father looked at this skinny boy who couldn't pull his weight in the fields. Most fathers would have seen a burden, a mouth to feed that couldn't earn its keep. McKinney's father saw something else. He handed his son a slingshot and pointed toward the swamps. Your job now, he told him, hunt, trap, bring back anything the family can eat. McKinney was maybe 8 years old, alone in the pine forests and marshes of southeastern Georgia, miles from home. No adult supervision, no safety net. Just a boy with a slingshot and a job to do. He learned things out there that no classroom could teach. How to move through undergrowth without snapping a twig. How to track an animal by the bent grass it left behind. How to read the wind so your scent didn't give you away. How to stay absolutely still when something dangerous was close. And he learned to shoot fast, accurate. Because when you're hunting to feed your family, you don't get second chances. You miss. You go home empty-handed. You go home empty-handed. People don't eat. McKinney hunted possums, rabbits, squirrels, anything that moved and could be cooked. He set trap lines through the swamps and checked them before dawn. He learned which animals were worth the effort and which weren't. He learned patience. He learned silence. He learned the difference between cover and concealment. Most importantly, he learned what to do when something with teeth was watching him from the shadows. You don't freeze, you don't panic, you assess, you move, you survive. The swamps of Screven County were John McKinney's classroom. The curriculum was simple: stay alive, bring back food, don't make mistakes. Mistakes meant an empty stomach. Mistakes meant a snake bite 10 miles from help. Mistakes meant death. He didn't know it then, he couldn't have known, but those swamps were training him for something else, something that wouldn't happen for another 15 years. On the other side of the world, in a jungle that looked nothing like Georgia, but operated on exactly the same rules: hunt or be hunted, move or die, kill or starve. By the time McKinney was old enough to enlist, he weighed 130 pounds, soaking wet, stood about 5'6", quiet, pleasant, the kind of man who shakes your hand, nods politely, and doesn't say much else. The kind of man you forget 5 minutes after meeting him. November 1942, McKinney walks into an Army recruiting office. He's 21 years old, third grade education. No skills the modern world cares about. No prospects. No future in Screven County except more sharecropping, more poverty, more of the same grinding existence his father lived and his grandfather lived before that. The Army takes him, of course they do. They're taking everyone in 1942, warm body, functioning limbs, you're in. McKinney gets assigned to Company A, 123rd Infantry Regiment. 33rd Infantry Division? The 33rd is an Illinois National Guard unit, but by 1942, it's filling up with men from everywhere: farm boys and factory workers and store clerks, men who never expected to be soldiers and now don't have a choice. Basic training, weapons qualification, shipping out to the Pacific, New Guinea first, jungle warfare against the Japanese, heat and mud and malaria, men dying of disease as often as bullets. McKinney survives. Moreau AI next, another island, another campaign, another stretch of hell. McKinney survives. Then Luzon, the Philippines, January 1945. The big push to take back what the Japanese captured 3 years earlier. McKinney lands with his unit and starts fighting. His service record is clean, unremarkable. He does his job, shows up when he's supposed to, doesn't complain, doesn't get in trouble, doesn't stand out in any way that matters to the officers writing reports. He's not the best shot in the company. Not the worst either. Middle of the pack, he's not a squad leader, not a corporal, just a private first class doing what he's told. The men who served alongside him later said they barely noticed he existed. Just another face in the formation. Just another body filling a spot in the line. Nothing special, nothing memorable. Invisible. That's what John McKinney was for most of his military career. A ghost in the ranks, a man nobody saw, nobody remembered, nobody expected anything from. The Army had no idea what they had. How could they? There's no test for what McKinney could do. No box to check on an evaluation form. No way to measure the thing that years in the Georgia swamps had built inside him. They would find out soon enough. Early May 1945, the Philippines. The war is turning. Everyone can feel it. American forces control most of Luzon. The Japanese are falling back into the mountains, fighting a war of delay and attrition. They can't win anymore. They know it. But surrender isn't an option. The Japanese military code doesn't allow for surrender. General Tomoyuki Yamashita commands the Japanese 14th Area Army. He's one of the best generals Japan has ever produced. The man who captured Singapore in 1942. The man they call the Tiger of Malaya. Now he's losing. His army is shattered. His supply lines are cut. His men are starving, sick, running out of ammunition. American air power rules the skies. American naval power controls the seas. There's no reinforcement coming. No rescue. Just a slow grinding defeat. But Yamashita is smart. He adapts. If he can't win conventional battles, he'll change the rules. No more frontal assaults against American firepower. No more banzai charges into machine gun positions. Instead, infiltration, ambush, find isolated American units, small outposts, supply convoys, hit them hard with overwhelming local force. Kill everyone. Disappear into the jungle before American reinforcements can respond. Make the Americans bleed for every mile. Make them afraid to sleep. Make the cost of occupation so high that maybe they'll negotiate instead of demanding unconditional surrender. It won't work. Yamashita probably knows it won't work, but it's all he has left. And for the Americans at Dingalan Bay, none of that matters. They don't know about grand strategy or desperate gambits. They only know they've been assigned to guard a supply route on the eastern coast of Luzon, and the jungle around them is full of Japanese soldiers who want them dead. Company A, 123rd Infantry Regiment, gets attached to something called the Connolly Task Force. Major Connolly commands. Their mission is simple: secure the supply line at Dingalan Bay, watch for Japanese movement, report anything suspicious, hold the position until relieved. The outpost they establish is small, deliberately so. It's not meant to be a fortress. It's meant to be a tripwire, a listening post, a speed bump that gives the main force time to react if the Japanese attack in strength. Sandbags and foxholes and fallen palm logs, a perimeter you could walk across in 2 minutes. Maybe 15 American soldiers at any given time, enough to watch the jungle and report back. Not enough to stop a determined assault. The entire defense depends on one weapon. A Browning M1919A4 light machine gun, belt-fed, air-cooled, 30 caliber, in trained hands firing 500 rounds per minute. It can turn a jungle trail into a killing ground. One machine gun in the right position can stop a company-sized assault. 3 Americans rotate shifts manning that gun, 4 hours on, 8 hours off. Around the clock, the gun never goes unmanned. John McKinney is one of the 3. Behind the outpost, 6 miles down a dirt road, sits the real prize. A command post and field hospital. 500 American soldiers lying in cots and stretchers. Men who fought across the Pacific and caught Japanese bullets along the way. Men missing arms, missing legs, missing eyes. Men with spinal injuries and gut wounds, and shrapnel buried so deep the surgeons couldn't dig it out. These men survived the war, but they can't fight anymore. They're waiting for evacuation, waiting for ships to take them home, waiting in a field hospital that has almost no defensive capability. If the Japanese break through the outpost at Dingalan Bay, the road to that hospital is wide open. 500 wounded Americans, helpless, unable to run, unable to fight back. The men at the outpost understand the stakes. They understand what they're protecting. That's why the machine gun is never unmanned. That's why they sleep in shifts. That's why the rifle is always within arm's reach. The night of May 10th passes without incident, hot, humid, insects everywhere. The jungle makes noise all night long. Animals, birds, things rustling in the undergrowth. You learn to tune it out. You learn to listen for the sounds that don't belong. McKinney takes his shift on the machine gun from midnight to 4:30 a.m. 4.5 hours of staring into darkness, finger near the trigger, waiting for something to move. Nothing moves. At 4:30, his relief shows up, 2 other Americans to take the next shift. McKinney hands off the gun, stretches his legs, walks the 10 feet to his tent. He lies down on his bedroll, places his M1 Garand rifle beside him, within arm's reach. Standard procedure. You never know. He closes his eyes, falls asleep. 17 minutes later, a saber cuts through the canvas. The Japanese have been watching for days. Hidden in the jungle, close enough to see, far enough to stay invisible, counting the American defenders, timing the guard rotations, studying the terrain, noting which tent belongs to which soldier, mapping the fields of fire, identifying the machine gun as the key to everything. 100 soldiers, a full company, assembled from survivors of a dozen shattered units, men who've been fighting and dying across Luzon for months, men with nothing left to lose. Their commander, whose name is lost to history, builds his plan around one simple fact: seize the machine gun and the Americans are finished. The attack will come before dawn, 4:47 a.m. When the darkness is deepest, when the guards are tired, when human alertness is at its lowest. The infiltration team goes first. Sergeant Fukutaro Mori and a handful of men. Their job is to eliminate the Americans sleeping near the gun position. Quick, quiet, sabers and bayonets. No gunfire to alert the perimeter. Once the gun crew is dead, the main force advances. They'll capture the Browning, turn it around, and use it to cut down the Americans from behind. Their own weapon turned against them. 500 rounds per minute into men who are just waking up, just reaching for rifles, just starting to understand what's happening. Then the road to the hospital is open. The white camouflage capes go on in the pre-dawn darkness, moving through jungle. They're almost invisible. The Japanese move in single file, silent, professional. They've done this before. They know how it works. Mori reaches the perimeter first. He finds the tent closest to the machine gun. Through the canvas he can hear someone breathing, slow, steady, asleep. He draws his saber. The blade is old, traditional, the kind of sword Japanese officers carry as a symbol of their warrior heritage, but it's not a symbol right now. It's a killing tool. One stroke across the throat and the American dies without making a sound. Mori lifts the tent flap, steps inside, raises the sword, brings it down. The angle is wrong. Maybe the darkness threw him off. Maybe McKinney shifted in his sleep at the last second. Maybe Mori was rushing knowing the main assault was about to begin. Instead of the throat, the blade catches McKinney across the side of the head. It slices through his ear, cuts a gash across his scalp, blood everywhere, instant and hot. But McKinney isn't dead. His eyes snap open. There's a shape standing over him, a sword raised for another stroke. The smell of blood, his own blood, filling the tent. He doesn't think. There's nothing to think about. His hands move on their own, reaching for the rifle beside him. The stock comes up, swings, connects with Mori's skull. The Japanese sergeant drops. Another shape appears in the tent opening, another soldier drawn by the noise. McKinney's rifle is already in his hands. He fires. The shot echoes across the perimeter. The infiltration is no longer silent, and outside, all hell breaks loose. McKinney stumbles out of the tent, blood streaming down his face. The left side of his head is a red mess. His ear is hanging by a strip of skin. He can barely see out of that eye. The world has become chaos. Gunfire everywhere. Muzzle flashes in the darkness, screaming in 2 languages. American soldiers waking up, grabbing weapons, trying to figure out what's happening. Japanese soldiers pouring through gaps in the perimeter. McKinney's eyes find the machine gun position. 10 Japanese soldiers are swarming over it. The 2 Americans who were supposed to be manning it are gone. One is on the ground wounded, a red stain spreading across his shirt. The other is dragging him away from the position, trying to save his life. The machine gun is undefended. The Japanese know exactly what they have. They're already rotating the barrel, turning the weapon around. In seconds, it will be pointing into the heart of the American perimeter. McKinney understands immediately what happens next. The gun fires 500 rounds per minute into Americans who have their backs turned, who are fighting enemies in front of them, who don't know death is coming from behind. The perimeter collapses. The survivors scatter or surrender. The Japanese push through. 6 miles down the road, the hospital, 500 wounded men who can't fight, can't run, can't do anything but lie there and wait for what's coming. All of it plays out in McKinney's mind in maybe half a second. He has 5 seconds to do something, maybe less. The Army trains soldiers for situations like this. There are doctrines, procedures, approved tactical responses developed by smart people who studied combat and wrote manuals about it. Option 1. Fall back. Find cover, wait for reinforcements. Let the situation develop. Don't expose yourself unnecessarily, live to fight another day. That's the smart play. That's what the manual says. Don't be a hero. But by the time reinforcements arrive, the machine gun will have shredded the American perimeter. The position will be overrun. The Japanese will be halfway to the hospital. Every second McKinney waits, more Americans die. Option 2. Suppressive fire. Stay in cover. Keep shooting at the machine gun position. Pin them down. Make them keep their heads low. Buy time until help arrives. One man with an M1 Garand against 10 men in a fortified position. The rifle holds 8 rounds. The Japanese have rifles too, and they're behind sandbags. The math doesn't work. McKinney runs out of ammunition, or they flank him, or one lucky bullet finds his head. He dies. The gun stays in Japanese hands. Nothing changes except now there's one less American to resist. Option 3. Counterattack. Leave cover, cross open ground, assault a fortified machine gun position defended by 10 armed soldiers, alone, in the dark, with blood in your eyes and your ear hanging off your head. That's not in the manual. There's no doctrine for that, because that's not a tactic. That's suicide. No military planner would ever recommend it because no reasonable person would ever try it. The expected outcome is death, quick and certain. But McKinney doesn't know the manuals. He has a third-grade education. He can barely read. He's never studied tactics or doctrine or the principles of infantry combat. He knows something else. The swamps of Georgia didn't teach him what the army teaches. They taught something older, simpler, more brutal. When something's trying to kill you, you don't wait. You don't think. You don't calculate odds. You move. You move fast. You move first. You move before the thing with teeth can close its jaws. John McKinney looks at 10 Japanese soldiers capturing the machine gun that will kill everyone he knows. He doesn't think about options, doesn't weigh probabilities, doesn't consider that what he's about to do is impossible. He just moves. McKinney runs straight at the gun. No cover, no suppressing fire, no support, just one man sprinting across open ground, rifle in his hands, blood streaming down his face. The Japanese soldiers see him coming. In the pre-dawn darkness, they see a shape moving toward them, fast, aggressive, not running away like the others. Some of them turn, some of them reach for weapons. Too slow. McKinney hits the emplacement at a dead sprint. He's firing before he even gets there. The M1 Garand barks once, twice, 3 times. The first Japanese soldier catches a round in the throat. He goes down gurgling. The second takes a bullet in the chest, falls backward over the sandbags, 3rd, 4th, 5th. McKinney is among them now, inside the position, too close for rifles to work properly. He's moving and firing and moving again, point-blank range, bodies dropping. 6th, 7th. 7 men down in maybe 3 seconds. The others don't have time to unsling their rifles, don't have time to aim, don't have time to do anything but die. McKinney uses his rifle as a club. The wooden stock connects with a skull. A Japanese soldier drops. Another swing, another body. Hand-to-hand combat in a space the size of a bathroom. Bodies falling. Blood on the sandbags. The smell of gunpowder and copper and something else. Something animal. In the chaos, the machine gun gets knocked off its mount. The barrel bends against the sandbag. The weapon everyone was fighting for is useless now. Neither side can use it. McKinney doesn't care. 10 Japanese soldiers are dead or dying around him. He's standing in the middle of the position covered in blood. Some of it his, most of it not. The machine gun is gone, but he has his rifle. He has the foxhole nearby with extra ammunition. He has high ground, and 90 Japanese soldiers are still coming. The next 36 minutes are the longest in John McKinney's life. Later, military historians will study what happened. They'll call it sustained assault against a single defender. They'll analyze the tactics, the terrain, the rate of fire. What all those words mean, stripped of academic language, is this wave after wave of Japanese soldiers tried to kill John McKinney. For more than half an hour, wave after wave failed. The Japanese commander doesn't know what happened at the machine gun position. Not at first. All he knows is the infiltration team is dead, the gun is destroyed, and one American is still fighting. one American against 100 men. The logical thing is to rush him, overwhelm him with numbers, accept some casualties, and kill the bastard who just wrecked the entire operation. They try. McKinney doesn't stay in the machine gun position. He can't. If he stays still, they'll concentrate fire and overwhelm him. Simple math. So he moves. From the gun emplacement to a nearby foxhole, fire from there, take down 2-3 soldiers, then move again before they can zero in. From the foxhole to a fallen tree, use the trunk as cover, fire, move. From the tree to a termite mound, the mound is 3 feet high, hard as concrete. Bullets thud into it. McKinney fires around the edge, drops another Japanese soldier, moves again. This isn't military doctrine, this is hunting, the same pattern he learned in the Georgia swamps when he was 8 years old. Fire from covered position, move before they can find you, change position before they can concentrate fire. Keep moving, keep shooting, never let them know where you're going to be. Track, shoot, move, repeat. The Japanese adapt, they stop rushing blindly, they spread out, try to flank him, try to get behind him. McKinney reads the terrain, he knows which angles are covered and which aren't. He knows where they'll try to come from because it's where he would try to come from. He shoots them when they appear. They try grenades, Japanese soldiers lobbing Type 97 fragmentation grenades at his position. The grenades have a 4-second fuse. McKinney sees them coming. He moves before they land. The explosions tear up dirt and sandbags. They don't tear up McKinney. They bring up mortars, 2 Type 89 knee mortars, 50 millimeters. Not very accurate, but they don't need to be accurate. They just need to get close. The shells start dropping, first near the machine gun position, then near the foxhole, then near the tree. The mortar crews are tracking him, trying to figure out his pattern. McKinney doesn't have a pattern. He moves randomly, instinctively, the way a rabbit moves when a hawk is overhead. The mortar crews can't hit what they can't predict. The shells keep falling. McKinney keeps moving, keeps shooting. His M1 Garand holds 8 rounds, semi-automatic action. He can fire as fast as he can pull the trigger. When the clip runs dry, he reloads. The rifle makes a distinctive ping when the clip ejects. The Japanese learn to listen for it, learn to charge when they hear it. McKinney learns to reload faster. The Japanese carry Arisaka rifles, bolt action, 1 shot, then work the bolt. McKinney fires 3 aimed rounds for every one they manage. When one rifle runs low on ammunition, he grabs another. The foxhole has extra M1s, positioned there for exactly this kind of emergency. When one jams with dirt and blood, he drops it and picks up another. Bodies start to pile up around the perimeter. 1 Japanese soldier in the dirt, then 3, then 5, then 10. The assault doesn't stop. The Japanese understand now they've lost 12 men, 24. They're taking casualties they can't afford. But turning back means the whole operation was for nothing. Their friends died for nothing. They keep coming. McKinney keeps killing. 20 minutes into the fight, his arms are burning. His wounded head is throbbing. Blood keeps getting in his eyes. He wipes it away, keeps shooting. 25 minutes. The ammunition in the foxhole is running low. He's rationing shots now, 1 round per target. No suppressive fire, no warning shots. Every bullet has to count. 30 minutes. The Japanese are getting desperate. They're taking risks they wouldn't have taken an hour ago, charging positions they should know are covered. McKinney shoots them down, moves, shoots again. He's operating on something beyond adrenaline now, beyond fear, beyond conscious thought. The Georgia swamps are running him like a program. Identify threat, eliminate threat, move, repeat. 36 minutes. The firing slows, then stops. McKinney holds his position, waits for the next wave. Nothing comes. In the distance, he hears American voices, reinforcements, elements of the Connolly Task Force who heard the firefight and moved to support. They're too late to fight. The fighting is over. When the Americans reach the perimeter, they find McKinney still at his position, rifle up, eyes scanning the jungle, waiting for movement. Around him, the ground is covered with bodies. Later, they'll count them: 40 Japanese soldiers dead, 38 in the immediate area around the machine gun position, 2 more near the mortar emplacements 45 yards away. McKinney fired approximately 170 rounds during the engagement. One enemy killed every 54 seconds for 36 straight minutes by one man. The perimeter held, the Japanese assault broke, they retreated into the jungle, leaving their dead behind. The hospital was never touched. 500 wounded Americans lived because one man refused to let a machine gun turn around. They evacuated McKinney to an aid station, not because his wounds were critical, but because he was finished as a combat soldier for the day. Exhaustion, blood loss, the ear wound, fragment injuries from near misses. Doctors stitched his ear back together, cleaned the shrapnel out, gave him fluids and morphine, and told him to rest. McKinney lay on a cot and stared at the ceiling. Later, he would say something that everyone who hears it remembers. "I really didn't get scared until it was all over. Later that afternoon, I got to thinking about it and got to shaking a little." The fear came after. During the fight, there was no room for fear. No room for anything except the next target, the next threat, the next movement. That's what the swamps taught him. Fear is a luxury. Fear is for later, when the hunting is done. McKinney spent the next few weeks recovering. Then he went back to his unit, back to Company A, back to the war. He didn't talk about Dingalan Bay. When other soldiers asked, he shrugged, said he did what he had to do. That was it. January 23rd, 1946, the White House. Washington, D.C. President Harry S. Truman stands in the Oval Office. Around him, the most powerful military leaders in the world: General Dwight D. Eisenhower, Supreme Commander of Allied Forces in Europe; Admiral Chester W. Nimitz, Commander-in-Chief of the Pacific Fleet, men who commanded millions of soldiers, men who planned the invasions that won the war. 4 soldiers stand before them, 4 men about to receive the Medal of Honor. John McKinney is one of them. He's wearing his dress uniform, 130 pounds, 3rd grade education, a sharecropper's son from a place nobody's ever heard of, standing in the most powerful room in the world. Truman reads the citation, the official record of what happened at Dingalan Bay, the numbers, the bodies, the impossible math. He places the Medal of Honor around McKinney's neck, the pale blue ribbon, the 5-pointed star, the highest decoration for valor that the United States can bestow. Truman shakes his hand, says the recipients earned the medal at the risk of their own lives and without any selfish interest whatever. McKinney says thank you. That's all he says. Thank you. There are photographs, handshakes with Eisenhower and Nimitz, more congratulations. Then it's over, and John McKinney walks out of the White House with a piece of metal around his neck and a story he'll never tell. The Army wanted a hero. They invited McKinney to ceremonies, speaking events, parades. Medal of Honor recipients are valuable for recruitment, for morale, for reminding the public what American soldiers can do. McKinney said no, not to everything. He showed up to a few events, shook hands, sat on stages while other people talked about what he'd done, but mostly he declined. A reporter found him in 1964, almost 20 years after the war, asked why he avoided the spotlight, why he didn't want to be famous. McKinney said he wanted to forget the war. That's all. He just wanted to forget. He never wrote a memoir, never sat for interviews, never explained what happened in those 36 minutes, never talked about the saber wound or the bodies or what it feels like to kill 40 men before breakfast. Some soldiers come home and need to talk. They tell their stories over and over. In bars and living rooms and therapy sessions, they write books. They give speeches. They process what happened by putting it into words. McKinney was the opposite. He came home and built a wall around Dingalan Bay, sealed it off, left it behind. He went back to Georgia, back to Screven County, back to the swamps and pine forests that had made him. He spent the rest of his life doing what he'd always done: hunting, fishing, working the land. The same skills that had saved 500 men in the Philippines now used to put food on the table and pass quiet days in the woods. He married, raised a family, lived the kind of ordinary life that Medal of Honor recipients rarely get to live. The medal went into a drawer somewhere. The citation gathered dust. The history books recorded what he'd done, and McKinney let them, but he didn't participate, didn't promote, didn't trade on his fame. He just lived. April 5th, 1997. John Randolph McKinney dies in Georgia. He's 76 years old. They bury him with military honors, the flag on the coffin, the rifle salute, the bugler playing taps. He had largely succeeded in his final mission, to be forgotten by the military that gave him its highest honor, to live and die as what he'd always been: a quiet man from Georgia who didn't like to talk about the war. Fort Benning uses Dingalan Bay as a case study now. They teach it in infantry school. Officers study the engagement, analyze the tactics, try to understand what McKinney did right. The lessons are straightforward: rapid semi-automatic fire against bolt-action rifles, constant movement to defeat enemy concentration, aggressive counterattack to seize initiative, the value of terrain knowledge, the importance of ammunition prepositioning. All true, all useful for training the next generation of soldiers. But the real lesson isn't in any manual. John McKinney was nobody, a man the Army barely noticed, third-grade education, 130 pounds, a sharecropper's son who spent his childhood hunting possums because his family was too poor to buy food. He wasn't special, wasn't remarkable, wasn't the kind of soldier who gets mentioned in reports or promoted ahead of his peers. He was invisible. Then 100 Japanese soldiers tried to kill him, and something else took over, something the Army didn't put there, something that came from years of moving through swamps in silence, years of shooting fast and accurate, because missing meant going hungry, years of staying calm when something dangerous was close. The training that mattered, the training that saved 500 lives, didn't happen at boot camp. It happened in the pine forests of Screven County, Georgia, a boy with a slingshot learning to survive. When the world exploded at 4:47 a.m. on May 11th, 1945, John McKinney didn't think about tactics, didn't consult doctrine, didn't calculate odds. He did the only thing he knew how to do, the thing the swamps had taught him. He hunted. May 11th, 1945, 4:47 in the morning, Dingalan Bay, Philippines. A Japanese saber cuts through darkness. The blade catches a sleeping American across the head. Blood pours down his face. The man wakes up, grabs his rifle, kills the man holding the sword. Outside, 100 enemy soldiers are seizing the machine gun that protects his entire unit. 6 miles away, 500 wounded Americans lie helpless. The math says he should die. The manual says he should retreat. John McKinney isn't good at math. He never read the manual. He's a possum hunter from Georgia. And something just walked into his swamp. 36 minutes later, 40 men are dead. One man is still standing.